The Halfbrick Show.
Welcome to the Halfbrick Show, your source for the latest Halfbrick news, chats, updates, and general gaming goodness. I'm Aiden from the customer support team here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm Carmen, marketing graphic designer. After the last weeks of the Halfbrick Plus takeover, we are coming back to our usual format. And as such, of course, we have a very exciting episode planned for today. However, first, we would like to make a statement from the pod team.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the news recently, Halfbrick has had to make company-wide changes. Unfortunately, this included redundancies. So a lot of members of the team were impacted by that. It's a really tough time for everyone involved, so we just want to wish you all the absolute best. We know you all brought incredible skills and talent, and we hope that anywhere you go next appreciates that. On that note, Fran is no longer with the Halfbrick Show team and won't be hosting with us going forward. I just want to say I really appreciate you, Fran. Thank you for everything, and we'll carry on your legacy wherever we can. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much also to any of our past amazing guests that have come on the show over the first season and that have made this podcast possible. And again, if you're listening, Fran, well, thank you so much for making this possible and for giving me the opportunity to participate in this wonderful project. Thank you, really.
Yeah. And lastly, to the listeners, of course, thank you guys so much for sticking around with us and supporting the show in the past, the present, and the future. From here, we'll dive back into what makes the show what it is. We'll be back talking about our games and our amazing guests every week.
Yeah. Yeah, so for our first episode back from the Halfbrick Plus takeover, we have a highly anticipated guest that I would probably define as punchy, like Dandeman. Who knows? We have collaborated very closely before, and he has always had a very interesting point of view. We have had a very nice, lovely chat that I hope you guys also enjoy. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
Who the brick are you?
Yeah, hello. Thank you. It's finally good to get on here. It's been a little while. We've been trying to organize something. Unfortunately, didn't get a chance at the town hall, but it's good to finally be here. Yeah, my name is Tren. I am a relatively recent brick, coming up to like 6 months now. And I'm the product manager for Thrill of the Fight 2, which is our virtual reality boxing simulator.
Right, yeah. Which is pretty good plug if you haven't played it.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. You will need a Quest 3 or Quest 2 or 3S for now. Hopefully, Valve can make some additional Steam frames and produce them and sell them to people, so we have a reason to go to PC VR. You know, I would love to go on Steam, but we'll see.
That'd be so cool.
And you will need a lot of space to play Thrill, which I think it's important.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. It's pretty hard to box if you can't move. That's what we've come to find. We do have what we call stationary mode, where it's basically you just need basically a circle on the ground, so you won't move around. You can move using the joystick in the game, which will move you like forward and back, left and right. But it's not really the same. You know, it's a lot of boxing is footwork itself, and it's fun to dash around, jump around, step forward, step back.
Yeah.
Still pretty tiring, though, stationary mode.
Even stationary, yeah. Even stationary, you can definitely tire yourself out with just punching the air, what it looks like at least.
Yeah,
honestly.
If you didn't skip leg day, maybe you want to try stationary mode.
Yeah. I actually haven't worked out in probably like 2-3 years, and Thrill in the last year and a half has just been my primary workout thing. It's been amazing. I'm actually in the best shape of my life too. And this is like, I'm not trying to plug Thrill, but it sounds like it now I realize. But seriously, it's I have a little Garmin watch that I wear sometimes when I have my fights, because I wanted to see. I'm like, well, it feels like it's a pretty serious workout, but you know, what is it really? How strong is it? So I went for like a 5K run on a weekend, and that was like my baseline. And then I did a workout in Thrill, which was like probably like 10 or 12 rounds of virtual reality boxing. Yeah, it was night and day. It was like my max heart rate was like 199 beats per minute. I spent like primarily in zone 4 and zone 5, which is like your heart is working extremely hard. It's a fun way. It's a fun way to trick yourself into working out, because you're not thinking about working out. You're just thinking about knocking out the guy in front of you. So you really get, you get excited.
Don't even think
Yeah,
about it.
that's true.
It's like, oh, I'm not trying to plug it. I just brought, here's my before and after photo from when I started playing
Yeah.
Thrill 1 and 2.
I've
That's
seen a
actually
few
so
of them.
cool,
I've
though.
actually seen a few of them. It's something that we should really promote and
Highlight.
show off. Sort of, these people that have amazing transformations, and all they do is just play Thrill. They're like, oh, I didn't even do a diet. All I do is play Thrill every night because I
Wow.
want to. And I lost like 10 pounds, 20 pounds. It's pretty
That's
crazy.
so good. Oh, okay. So, well, could you run us through like a quick day by day, like what you do? I guess at Halfbrick, but mainly for Thrill, obviously. What's your day look like?
Well, obviously we're a remote company, as probably people know. So, in the morning, first we catch up with everyone, which is our stand-up. And Thrill is a part, like the state of Thrill as in terms of a product in the product cycle. It's already launched, it's established, it's full release. So we're working on a few different things at once. It's not so much like, oh, let's focus on this one thing, make it and release it. It's sort of like, improving here, improving there. The main things for us this year especially is working on the single player and the AI. Because we did some work last year and released full release with our single player, but there's a lot more we want to do, and it's really exciting. Thrill 1, for example, was a purely single player experience, and it has so many fans, including myself. So we're really keen to match that at least and do much more. So a lot of my day is actually fighting a virtual reality opponent in my living room for work. So because basically the flow is like, this is a really weird thing, okay? It sounds weird, but most games you're developing something, you work on it, you iterate, and then you test it, right? And you just test it on whatever device it is. It's on computer, or it's on, mobile, whatever it is. When we're making a boxing simulation, you can't really, like, I can play the game on Unity and run it and watch the fight happen, but you can't really get a gist of, does this feel right? Does this feel like boxing? Does it, you really have to go into it to get that understanding. So there's no way to test besides literally go in the game and fight again and fight again and make a change and then fight again and then make a change and then fight again. And so a lot of my time is fighting a made-up opponent, which is kind of fun. But yeah, testing and also just helping guide the dev team in sort of what does the community want right now? What areas do we have room for improvement? Because the dev team are really fantastic, but they're also super busy. They have so much to do. If we take them away from literally putting things into the game, then nothing goes into the game, right? So I try my best to support them by, keeping work ahead of them and getting back to them as soon as I can. If someone says, hey, I've worked on this new thing, can you please check it out? I basically try and jump in as soon as I can and give them feedback of, what feels right, what doesn't work, what maybe we can try instead. But really the only way to do that is to literally go in there and just fight the opponent, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, on the community side as well, when you mentioned that, you were in the community for a big time, like beforehand, right? Before joining the team? Yeah,
actually, so I joined the Discord for Thrill the Fight 2 before it actually launched, because I was a player of Thrill the Fight 1, and I actually saw, I can't remember exactly where I saw an announcement that, Thrill the Fight 2 is coming out, multiplayer, and I was like, wait, they're making this, but I can fight real people? So I just joined the Discord straight away. I was just basically like counting the days until it dropped, and then once it did drop, I'm just the type of guy where if I'm like super into a video game, there's always a Discord somewhere. There's always a Discord. If it's not a specific community, maybe the official one, or maybe sometimes there's like Australian Discords for specific online games. So yeah, I joined the Discord and I was just super active because I was super in love with Thrill. and it's cool to be in touch with other people and talk about the game and things that could be cool, things that are maybe not working well. And when I joined the Discord, I was obviously just a player. But I was really impressed with like how Halfbrick was handling like community interaction. It was just non-stop talking with the players. But that is how I sort of first joined, and that was the start of my journey to, I guess, here today, where I actually work for Halfbrick. At some point, I became a Discord moderator for the official Discord, and just sort of helped out where I could, keep it clean, make sure everyone's following the rules and just being nice to each other, which is sometimes not the simplest thing with some of these boxing fans. They can be super passionate is the word I use. Super passionate, right? You can decipher that how you want, but yeah, it can be very passionate. So they need sometimes some moderation. But to be honest with you, when the post went out for, hey, we're looking for Discord moderators, if anyone wants to volunteer, the first thought that came to me was, hey, this could be my first little foot in the door with these guys.
Oh.
I was like, how do I get into all this? This game's amazing. I love this. How do I get involved? And then the post went up, hey, we're looking for moderators. And I was like, all right.
That's it.
It was like a whole form I had to fill out. It was like applying for a job almost. It was like whole form and filled all that out. And apparently there was 700 people that applied to be a Discord moderator.
Okay.
And there was like 4 or 5 of us that got chosen, including Coach Dave, actually. That's sort of where I met him more than a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that's sort of where it all started. So yeah, I'm from the community. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
So you have quite the long history with Thrill, right? Would you say that it is your favorite game of all time?
It's definitely my favorite virtual reality game of all time. And it's hard to compare because I'm a massive PC gamer for like 15 to 20 years. So I spent a lot of the time on the computer playing all types of video games. Thrill is special because like some games I can spend like 10 hours on all day. If I really want to, if I'm really addicted and I want to ignore all my real responsibilities, I can just sit there and just, waste my whole day playing whatever it is. Thrill is like, no matter how much you want to play, eventually you can't. You have to stop because you're tired. You got no energy left. Everything hurts. Your feet hurt. Your muscles are sore. You have to stop. So it's definitely by far my most favorite virtual reality game, and actually the only virtual reality game that's kept me around, which is hard to do so far, at least for me personally.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Do you ever this might be a hard question to out ourselves on. Fruit Ninja VR, another Halfbrick VR game, right? Was actually one of the first VR games I ever played on the PlayStation VR. I think it was on the PS4.
Yeah.
And that was crazy because you'd play it on the mobile, and then we weren't working there at the time. But it's like this is next level. Have you guys had a similar experience of that with Thrill, or also Fruit Ninja VR players?
Yeah, I mean Thrill is blowing a lot of people's minds. So like a lot of people. Everyone, I guess, all the fans from Thrill 1 sort of knew what they were expecting, but there's still a lot of new people who haven't experienced it before, and Thrill is sort of their first time. I know a lot of people who their headset is just a dedicated Thrill machine.
That's so good.
They just don't use it for anything else, And it's almost to that point for me as well. I do a little bit of sim racing in virtual reality as well. But
I see the wheel behind you. Yep.
Yeah, it's right
nice.
to my right. But primarily it's just a thrill machine for me. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to really get invested in a VR game to the point that like every day I want to jump in and get in there, because it's a bit of an effort. You got to put it on, you got to immerse yourself. Sometimes you don't feel like it, but somehow Thrill just gets me back. Like it just, I just keep going back.
Not to be like cheesy, but it's the thrill. I think it actually is of the fight.
It is, yeah. It really is.
Like that brings you back, right?
The ups and the downs, because there's ups and there's definitely downs.
Yes.
It's very ego-driven,
Oh, yeah.
sport. It's boxing, right? Boxing is you versus that guy. There's nothing else. So it can feel really fun and awesome to win and feel good and, beat the other guy. And it can also feel not so great to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely fair. But still, shout out to the people who take that and turn it into feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of that, and a lot of it's very fair too.
Yeah.
The feedback's really important to us. Actually, it's everyone fights. Like boxing is so unique in that I could throw a punch one way, and you could throw the same punch another way, and Carmen could throw the same punch another way, and they could all work in real life. And we as developers have to somehow create a system that acknowledges that and gives value to your punch and Carmen's punch and mine, but then also make sure silly stuff doesn't do damage. So it's quite a challenging task, and that's why there's so much feedback, because it's not I don't want to say a specific fighting game like Street Fighter. Let's say you press X and you have a punch, right? Press triangle, you have a kick. So if somebody says, hey, the kicks are too strong, you can go and look. You can see exactly how much damage does a kick do, how many times are people using a kick. You can really tell what it's doing, and you can adjust it very specifically. And you can, let's say, okay, we're going to reduce the kick damage by 5%, and it will always be 5% less. Whereas we have to do that with a physics-based simulation. That's, like I said, everyone's punch is different. So it's I can go and test something and maybe it's good for me, but then maybe for you it doesn't work. So we have to we try and test as much as we can internally, but really there's no way, our team is going to cover the whole world of boxing. So, we really do rely on players a lot to get in there and have a go and see, what works, what doesn't, and just sort of help guide us on our way to the best boxing simulator there is. Which I do think we're already there, but I think there's a bit to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
no, I agree, but we are biased.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A little bit of bias, but I believe it as well.
Little bit.
From the Street Fighter analogy, it's like you could look at it as you have to calculate how are they pressing triangle to do that kick, right? Is that kind of how you could look at it? Are they pressing it hard? Are they coming from the right or the left with the press?
Yeah. It's actually a really super complex, damage system that has to take into account a lot of different things. Like, you have velocity, but you also have, the angle of the velocity. Is it going straight in? Is it grazing? Is it just my pinky? Is it the knuckles properly? Is it a slap? How fast is it?
Yeah.
Is he moving into it? What is he doing when he gets hit? Is he in the middle of throwing a punch? There's all these different things. And with very limited information, we just have a headset which tells us, hey, the head is here. We have two controllers that said, hey, the hands are here. That's all we get, and we have to make a whole world out of just that. We have to give you a body, make sure it works, make sure it looks like you, it's doing what you do, which can be very, very tricky, I feel like we're kind of trying to almost like we're a little bit too early, if you know what I mean. Like,
with the technology?
Yeah, I'm like, man, if I was doing this in 5 years from now, this would be a piece of cake. But it's already awesome now, so we're just going to keep going.
Yeah. And then in 5 years, adapt to whatever's 5 years. Yeah. Actually, speaking of, well, maybe not 5 years, but they're right now. What are you guys working on at the moment that you want to share with the pod team? I suppose?
Yeah, no problems. At the moment, we had an update come out. What is it? Maybe a week or two ago. So we've been closely monitoring that just to see. There was a few damage changes, some physics upgrades in that. So we do have a public test channel. So if anyone doesn't know, normally, when we're developing something new or any changes, we test internally. Once we're relatively happy, we push that to a private testing group where we draw from. We have a few experienced boxers in there, and we also have some kids that are really good at breaking the game, because I tell them, I say, hey, try and break it and let me know what you can find, because you kind of need to. And then he goes to a public test channel, which is available to all the players. So they can go in there and test our changes before it sort of ships fully live.
Right.
But there can also be a disconnect. Like only about 10% of players go to our public test. And usually it's more enthusiastic people, boxers that are really, trying to box. So maybe they don't try and, push it to the limits, do things that maybe you won't normally do in boxing. So sometimes when we do push an update to live, we get some mixed feedback. Like it can be like, oh, this is really good. And then it goes live and then it's like, no, this is completely different. This sucks. But actually, it's the same thing. But, it all kind of depends. What's the other guy doing in the room? In the same ring as you, how is he treating it? How is he fighting? So we're working on looking at some feedback on that current update. I was actually testing before this call, just some damage fine tuning, just to try and keep it as realistic as possible. The pace is a little bit too high. Everyone's turned into a little bit of a Mike Tyson. Can just knock you out like nothing. So just working on some tuning there. We are working on a next major update too, which I can't say too much about, although I will leak, especially for the podcast.
Oh my gosh!
There will be
Thank you.
a new venue. Nobody knows this yet,
New venue.
but there will be finally another venue dropped.
Can we
Players have
say
been
which one? Because I know. Oh, I can't. Okay. All right.
Is it the
but-
coach's house? Can
It's
we
not the
train
coach's
at his
house.
court? Oh, I wanted
not
to
the
train at
coach's
his
house.
courtyard. I feel like he will give you a sandwich. When you have thrown it very well, he probably brings a sandwich out or something.
For some reason, when you said his
That's-
house, I pictured like his kitchen or something
No.
like that. For some reason, that could be good.
Imagine a level that's just trashing the coach's kitchen.
Well, it's like
Would
the
be
Street
amazing.
Fighter mini games. Just beat stuff
Yeah,
up. Although I know
yeah.
that goes away from the simulation side of drill, so maybe it's a bit too arcadey. But customer support, reviews, storefront side. I really love plugging that PTC. So if you guys are listening and you want to check that out, you can jump in the Thrill
definitely.
Discord, and all the details are right there.
Mhm.
Maybe the venue will appear in the PTC before going live, or no?
Potentially, yes. There's a potential.
Cool. Okay.
Potential. But we have worked pretty hard on optimizing it. So it's running pretty well already. It is a bit tricky sometimes because you have, like right now, Thrill is supported on Quest 2 and Quest 3 and Quest 3S. And that's sort of like supporting a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3. Yeah, I'm excited to launch it. It is a outdoors venue.
Ooh.
First outdoors one, which is really cool to go in there and be like, because you're literally outdoors. Like you go in there, it's not just like venue in your computer screen. It's you're inside of there, so it's super cool to just get teleported in there and just look around at the scale of it all.
Oh, okay. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to ask you for the insider scoop of what one that actually is after this.
Well, I think I might know, but we will see once it launches, and it would be amazing. It will be amazing for people to hear it here first. So, speaking of insider scoops, we had an internal debate before you came in, and we need you to answer, which is,
Oh, interesting.
where did the nickname Tren come from? Because that's your nickname. That's your online name.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it because you train a lot?
Yes, I was very into bodybuilding for like 10, 11 years. I was super into bodybuilding, and it was just my gamer tag, like on any sort of video games I play online. Was just been on gamer tag for a while. Didn't expect it to become my job. That's
pretty cool.
much is for certain.
That's,
I remember actually when I started a little YouTube channel for Thrill to sort of showcase all the Australian sort of fighters that I had in my community. And I remember when I made the YouTube channel and I wrote, Tren_AU. And one of the guys, he's my good friend's Sib, he's pretty active in the community. He's like, are you sure that's what, you want to use as your YouTube name? And I'm like, just my YouTube. Like, who
Are
cares?
you
No,
aware that it means train, like the vehicle in Spanish?
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Oh,
know
you
that.
That's
heard
what we
it
thought it might have
here
meant
first.
train in that sense as well.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
No.
Do you have
Yeah,
like an older, more embarrassing one that you want to share with us, or is that buried?
It's been a few, but it's just the main one I've stuck
That's
around
Tren.
for sort of the last couple of years. Yeah, 2-3 years
Nice.
mostly. 2, 3, yeah. I'm stuck in
Okay.
it now, so here we are. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the Thrill community knows me as that from the start, so
That's pretty good. There's definitely worse names, and there's no numbers. It's a clean username.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Realistically, like
Yeah.
that's the goal that you want to aim for. In my eyes, anyway. No shame to people with numbers in their usernames. Sorry, don't want to alienate the listeners. All right, Tren. What's your best dev tips to get better at Thrill? If you could give us like a quick fire lesson, because I'm not very good at that, believe it or not.
I would say number one is the training dummy.
Yep.
Use Flash, very good for training. Because the training dummy shows you a few things. One, it shows your damage, but it also shows a really important thing called body effort. That's not it's not exactly how much effort are you putting, but it's a parameter that we use to sort of dictate. It's a metric for how much body mass you're transferring into it. Now, I say that we don't have body mass, we don't have anything from the feet, we just have those two controllers, right? But it's primarily tied to leg drive, which is, studies show. We looked at a lot of, scientific studies, and we looked at actually sensor data from Tony Jeffries actually was the core of this whole system.
Wow.
So we got Tony, we got him to throw a bunch of good punches and bad punches. And then we got some other boxes that, from the community, throw some good ones, throw some bad ones. And we actually found in the data itself some data points that were all very similar. And they were all those people throwing good punches. And that's basically what the body effort metric is. So to really utilize it, stand with a nice wide boxing stance with a bend in your knees. And every time you throw a punch, think that the punch doesn't start here, it starts in your feet. So if you want to throw a punch, the first thing you do is you push off the ground with your foot.
Right.
So you push and you rotate and you push. It's like your whole body is pushing your fist, but it all starts from the foot. And it slowly comes up your whole kinetic chain to push that punch. If you can really maximize that body effort, that's what will really let you do the highest damage in the game. If you can't utilize that, the system is basically saying, hey, you're just slapping or something, doing something sort of silly,
Yeah.
We can't see any, leg drive. And it's something that's still in development. It's, as you can imagine, it's quite hard to calculate, force without mass, because force is mass times acceleration, and we don't have mass in VR. So we have a few tricks that we up our sleeve, but it's going to be there's more to come for sure. But the body effort is the main tip for sure.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's really cool that Tony Jeffries has been such a big help with this as well.
Yeah. It's really important to us to work with, real boxers that know what they're doing. Because, we might be developers, we might be great at making games, but I'm not a champion. I'm not a heavyweight boxing champion. I'm no Tony Jeffries. I didn't go to the Olympics. So it's really important to us to work with people that, have the real experience, have been through it, are active, to help guide us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we might jump into some community questions then. It's a kind of, I wouldn't call it a whole new segment, but we got some users in Discord who love chatting about Halfbrick, and Thriller Fight came up. Said we're doing the pod with you. And the first question, so the first Thriller Fight was created by Ian, of course.
Yeah.
How did he collaborate with Halfbrick on Thriller Fight 2? Were you around seeing much of that?
I wasn't there when it started, as I joined, about 6 months ago, but he actually outlined the whole story on a Reddit post, if you believe it or not. Because Ian was super, super active on Reddit back when he was, developing Thrill 1. And, there's a Thriller Fight subreddit that's still quite active. And it's maybe 2 or 3 years old post basically from Ian, where, when he first mentioned that he was working on Thrill 2, everyone got super excited. And then it was kind of quiet for a while, and people were like, hey, what's going on? Where is it? Yada, yada. And so he wrote a really big, long post. So if you go on Reddit and you search for him, you can find it. Kind of details his story on journey of Thrill 2, where, after the success of Thrill 1, he formed a studio himself. I forgot the name of it, Sea Lost. And he hired a few developers to help him start on Thrill 2. I think it was 2022, something like that. 2019.
Crazy that's old dates now. I just got to
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it out.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, I went to
Yes.
go like far back, and I went way too far back for some reason. Because I'm like, oh wait, we're in 2026.
Right.
But yeah, he basically tried by himself with his own studio for like 2 years.
Right.
And like I don't want to speak for him. I'm paraphrasing, but it's all there on the Reddit post. And basically, the story was they were struggling. It was very difficult because making multiplayer and making single player is a completely different story. You don't have netcode, you don't have latency, there's no ping, there's not another person to consider. It's just you beating up this made up bot in front of you. You can make yourself really strong, and it doesn't matter because there's nobody there to feel the pain.
Yeah.
They don't care. You win or you lose. It's a bot,
Yeah.
So he kind of struggled for 2 years, and then I know from Shaz, because he's told me this story a few times, Shaz was actually the one who reached out to him initially.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, hey, I've seen, because Shaz had played Thrill 1 and he played it quite a bit and he loved it, and he heard that Ian was making number 2, and he wanted to get involved. He just loves the game itself. Even Shaz's brother plays it heaps to this day for fitness.
Right.
And Ian said no, basically. Ian was like, nope, I'm not interested. I've got my own studio. Thanks, but no thanks. And then Shaz was like, all right, no problems, keep in touch. And I think like 6 months passed, and Shaz tried again. And he was like, no thanks. We're good. I think that happened like 2 or 3 times until finally Ian was like, you know what? I think I might need the help. And that's when they decided to collaborate. And he details in that post that, from that point forward, it kind of really shifted the pace of things. It enabled him to focus really developing on the game itself instead of like business side and that sort of stuff. And he really details there how as soon as he collaborated with Halfbrick and started working together, it was basically like they had to throw everything out the window that they had done until then because it just wasn't working, and start again. But when they did do that, they started making a lot of progress. Yeah, that's sort of the story of how it all came about. It was basically Shaz being a persistent guy. So I'm very glad that Shaz was persistent.
Yeah, that led to
maybe we wouldn't have Thrill 2 today.
Yeah, Thrill 2, you being a part of it. That's it's a butterfly effect, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, I'm assuming, adding to that, that's probably around the time Fruit Ninja VR was being developed. So no wonder Shaz and Halfbrick were big in VR.
I think it was like maybe it was potentially already out already or something like that. But Halfbrick had experience in VR already with Fruit Ninja, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the same team, actually. It's actually pretty much the same team that works on Fruit Ninja and FNVR 2, and just used a lot of that experience and brought it to Thrill 2.
Yeah. There's overlap. They're in like getting the sensation, the game feel of a good swing.
Oh yeah. And it's VR is very special. Like VR is a very unique developer environment. It's not like a tried and true. It's can be a lot more tricky. Can be very difficult to test things. Sometimes we have issues that we make a build, we play it on Unity on our computer. Looks good, fantastic. And then we go on the headset, put it on, it's completely broken, doesn't work. What? So it can be quite difficult, that process. Like literally if something goes wrong, we got to get the headset, plug it into the computer, get the logs from the headset. Sometimes the logs don't have anything. It's not like a game that's just running on the computer and everything is already there. It's very disconnected. So it's a very unique set of skills. I'm glad that a team has Ninja, FNVR and FNVR 2 experience.
Yeah, so cool. Okay. Thank you to Dia, by the way, from the Halfbrick Discord for that question. I forgot to say that earlier, but
that's a really good question. Because a lot of people do not know that story. A lot of people don't know that story. So it's good to get that out there.
Cool.
No,
Thank you.
It was great. I mean, I am one of those people who didn't know that story. And now I'm just Yeah, really grateful to Shaz and really grateful to Ian for having the opportunity to play it. We have another question coming in from the community. This time it's from Micro. And they asked, who is your favorite Halfbrick character of all
Good
time?
question. Good question. I do want to say I have seen Micro on the Discord. I recognize that name.
Nice.
I've been popping in on the Halfbrick Discord since joining the team. And I've seen quite active person.
Yep.
For me, it's hard to say. You know, I can't say I was a massive mobile gamer. So like games like Dan the Man, Jetpack Joyride, I actually never played until now. I played them. I actually never played them until joining Halfbrick and then thinking, hey, I should probably check out the games we have.
Probably.
Good first step. Yeah.
yeah. I kind of like Dan the Man, to be honest. I like his hair and that little bandana thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's very stylish.
I did a little AI thing of Dan the Man X Thrill of the Fight 2 to see what that would look like. Fighting him in the ring.
Are you pitching a collab idea? Or?
Future DLC, maybe.
Oh, that would be so nice. Imagine if you could have like your globes customized with some. I mean, I would be a Josie fan, head to toe on my Josie gear, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering. But that would be so nice. I mean, it makes sense, right? Dan throws punches, Thrills throws punches.
You're literally punching, right? So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's probably like the tagline is he kicks and punches. It's
Kicks and punches.
Yeah. I wonder, Thrill Team, if you ever need a side project, Dan the Man VR is probably right there to pick up. Like break into more of the whimsical arcadey game style, and I'm sure it could blend really well.
I've been thinking actually something really cool would be to sometimes how games have like games within them as like a little Easter egg. I thought it'd be super cool to like get like an arcade machine inside your own gym where you can play maybe Fruit Ninja and the Man and all these Halfbrick games.
That would be so good.
You can unlock them. You go through the career and then you get these the points that you can deck out your gym. Put a Dan the Man arcade machine or a Fruit Ninja machine or all these Jetpack Joyride, all these things. It'd be kind of cool.
I mean, a jetpack machine, input-wise, that's one button. You can even have a physical button in the virtual world, or like
you
just hold the button.
You can do anything with this. Yeah. You've got two of these. You can just stand there and just.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If this happens in the game, you heard it here first, everyone. That's what I to say.
When this happens. When this happens. Please, I need this. This is my top current needs right now for Thrill.
Yep.
It's like sometimes when people game devs put like this little side thing in the game that's just like a something on the side, and then actually some players just really love that and they just do that. I can imagine some people would just sit there in the gym and just
it ends up being like Counter-Strike surfing. You just end up
exactly.
It's Thrill jetpacking or Dan the Manning or whatever. Okay. Wow. In the essence of time, let's get to the next area. I think we are flying through it, but we still got to do the little games. Guess the community comment. Have you heard an episode of the show before? Do you know what you're in for?
Not all the way to the end.
Okay. Classic YouTube listener. No, no, we love all listeners, Tren. Thank you. But what we do is, it's pretty straightforward. We'll give you a comment. I'll read it word for word. And you just tell us if that's a real one from YouTube. Have we made it easy and taken it from the Thrill YouTube? Have we not? That's up to you to decide. Is it real or have we made it up? Okay. So the comment is, quote,
I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to tell you I'm going to be good at this because I read what people say about Thrill all day, every day. So let's try. I
actually was really worried about that with you because I know you're on that YouTube for Thrill. And I've probably gone too easy on you, but we'll see. Have I gone? Anyway. Quote. Mirror. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. End quote.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true. 100% real.
Yeah.
Really?
What was that? What was the boy? Mirror.
Mirror, like mirror mode in Thrill 2.
Yeah, definitely. They love it. I don't know if it was that exact one.
That exact one, is that real?
People love it.
Okay.
I would have to say I haven't read that specific one, but I've read a lot that people love the mirror mode. So I'm gonna go with true.
Dang. Yeah. Nope. It's true. You're right. Congratulations.
Yes.
Shouldn't have gone mirror mode. It's too recent.
Yeah.
I
I
really
do love
dug
a
through the
fire
comments.
emoji.
Yeah.
So
And 3 in a row, like, is that real? Did they really have 3 or was there 2? You know, but no, it was real. Congrats. You're one of the few who have gotten it right. I think it's more losers than winners at the moment on the track record. Could be wrong.
There's only one. That's all I get.
There's only one. Yeah,
Yeah.
we might have to start adding more.
I thought it was going to be like 5. Then I was going to start maybe sweating a little bit, but
Oh, okay. Well, you hold on to that, and we'll have to bring you back one day to humble you at some point.
Next time, yeah.
Yeah.
now we want people to leave the pod with a good feeling, and we try, but some guests don't really guess the comments.
We've thrown some curveballs before. That was probably a softer one.
Well,
but
you've
it's still a
thrown
hard
some
one.
curveballs. I haven't.
Next time, Tren, I'll get you.
Oh, yeah. He probably will. There's
I don't think you'll
another
catch
question.
me. I don't think you'll catch me.
All right. Yeah, answer this next one. This is the real doozy.
Yeah, there's another question that we have to ask that we ask everyone on the pod, which is also very difficult, which is Tren, where's Dan the Man 2?
Maybe inside of Thrill of Fight 2. Who knows?
Oh,
in
yeah.
the Thrill of Fight 2 arcade machine, you know? Maybe it's going to come there first before everywhere else.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
He has to train.
He had an answer for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, he has to train, so it makes sense that he would be boxing.
He punches.
Yeah.
We don't have picks yet, but maybe Thrill of Fight 3 kickboxing. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, that's that 5-year technology. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when we need the feet trackers and everything too. We'll see. They
Or
already
you'll
have a lot of
only
that
do
stuff,
it in the
but,
classes.
Yeah, tricky.
If they go down the XR route or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
I don't know how that would look. Okay. Well, final thought question for you then. Actually, we didn't even cover it, but with your time in the games industry, which I don't even think we covered if you'd been in the games industry much beforehand, right? But with your 6 months or so officially in the games industry, what's that taught you that wasn't in the job description?
Oh man, how physically taxing it would be.
That is such a unique one to think.
Yeah, which is very unique. I think, if you ask 99.99% of maybe developers or people working within games, they would not say that. But for me, especially now it's a little bit calmer, but when we were, pushing for 1.0 and, working on the AI, it was, literally quite a big team, all working on AI and all iterating almost to the point of every single day there was something new to test. And I was just fighting over and over and over and over. Sometimes I had like 3 to 4 showers a day because you can't play Thrill and not sweat. So, I'd go in the morning, then in the middle of the day, then afternoon, then the evening. And it really took a toll, to be honest. Everything was hurting. Everything was absolutely hurting. But that's the surprising one that I don't think I expected. I mean, I feel like I expected it a little bit, but not to the extent that, that eventuated. Because I played before and I play all the time, but now the problem is I test during work and then I play after work.
Yep.
And so it's just worse. It's just triple the amount of, fighting.
So you definitely couldn't say, you wouldn't go into any games industry role for the most part and say, my body's going to hurt. I think that's a really good point.
No, I think it's a very unique game in that sense. Like it's, sometimes it's like, not how fast can you produce the code, not how fast can you develop, it's how much, energy do you have to actually physically test it. And because it's, you can't, if we're making a really specific change on a physics change on a damage system, this is being used by the players at full intensity. They're going there, they're letting it rip, they're throwing like they're trying to take the opponent's head off, So if we go in there and we just test, nice and light, it's not a great test, is it? We have to go in there and really try to, emulate what the players are doing, which is try your hardest, absolutely leave everything on the table. And that's not easy to do over and over and over. But it is extremely fun. So
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Oh, that's kind of all we got.
it was
Yeah.
fun. Thanks for having me.
How did you feel?
That's
Were
fine.
we oh, thank you. We do love hearing that we aren't that intimidating. Thank you.
No, this is fine. I don't know. I don't really have an issue with this stuff. So, like I said, I'm happy to do it anytime. Is super fun. Happy to be back on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to literally sit here in front of this same setup and live stream for like 3 hours a day after work. So you got
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit used to just like being on, in front of a camera and talking. But
Yeah.
that definitely helped desensitize myself a little bit.
No,
as you
you're
saw.
a natural, and really,
Well-
thank you so much for coming onto the show.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I wouldn't say natural. I would say it took some time, but maybe now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Carmen.
Well, for anyone who's still listening and has come to the end of the episode, thank you so much for that. But please take in mind that there's plenty of content and updates to come to Thrill of the Fight 2 in 2026. So be sure to check out the dedicated YouTube channel there if you'd like to see more. Feel free to join the Discord. Feel free to try and throw some punches. And also, well, we are still waiting for people to update us on the state of their collection of Halfbrick Plus cards. So if you want to do it, you know what's coming. You know it's your favorite email. It's theshow@halfbrick.com. Please, I
Yes.
really need people to compare my collection with.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tren. Honestly,
No problem.
anyone want to go and fight Tren? I'm sure you're up for a punch up.
You go,
Find him in the
especially
game.
if you're Australian. I'm there most evenings in the ranked matches in the trenches online. It's nowhere
is that-
special. Just go online, go to find match where you find everyone else. You'll see Tren Halfbrick there most weeknight evenings.
Beautiful. Is that a play on words, by the way? The trenches?
No, that was I
No,
just call
that's-
it the
okay.
trenches because it can be an interesting area sometimes. You can find some really nice people that box, nice and clean, and you look at him, oh, this guy's a boxer. And you can find some other people that are just, let's say, trying their best to win at any cost. That's the best way to say it. Like war, the trenches.
The trenches. Okay. Thanks so much. All right, everyone listening, I hope it's been another episode of the show that you can look back on with nostalgia. And we'll catch you next week for another Halfbrick Show. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Coming up next time on the Halfbrick Show.
Come Halloween, equip a skeleton head and equip the hog vehicle, and you'll actually see a like an Easter egg for Ghost Rider. It's like it's not regular skeleton head.